I wish. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I should say good afternoon. Tonight, then, we have P.I.H, Scotland, and U.S.A. We've got Jennifer representing the U.S.A. team, which is afternoon for her. And we got Scott, and we will have Craig in a minute when he comes on, from Paranormal in History Scotland. You know, I need to forgot what that meant, man. Yeah. Bloody, I can't remember half these teams' names. It's like everyone asks me, why don't you open up with like announcing the team name? Do you know how hard it is to say Horror Hobby Nation podcast?
I've forgotten that a couple of times.
It could be worse. You could have all P's in your name.
Some idiot just brought up that name, and yeah, it is what it is. So then, guys, tonight then I'm going to interview P.I.H. I've been looking forward to this because obviously I've worked with Scott and the Scotland team before, alongside Rigger. No doubt he'll be on here in a minute. Up in Edinburgh, we did the Bolts. We won't talk about it. But we had the pleasure of Scott and his team taking my team at the time round the church evening, round the church and the graveyard, and we got to see, was it 4 names made from Harry Potter?
I don't know. Sarah's the Harry Potter expert on that. I know there's one. I think it's 3 or 4. I'll tell you for I'm not a Harry Potter fan, unfortunately.
So we got to see that obviously with Scott, and also we got to see the headstone, which, believe it or not, somebody that actually was stolen at that time. We've heard there isn't much information on that, but apparently they stole a headstone. Some crazy people out there. I mean, that thing was actually bloody heavy, just looking at what was taken from the actual side. So we got to do that. Yeah, we had a blast with Scott, really, and Rigger. But yeah, we won't talk about the Scotland events at all, as in the Bolts. But I do know, Scott, you did go. Did you not go to Southside and do the Bolts? Hey, Sarah.
We've done Nidry Street, which we've done with you. We've done Nidry Street South. We've done the South Vaults twice.
Didn't you do that? Didn't you do that after we done that?
I was after yous were up. We did it with Rigger actually, his team. And we got not a great amount of activity, but you know we did get some. And then that's the second time we've done it. Both times we've had activity. The first time we did it, we heard a male voice in one of the vaults. Everybody heard it at the same time saying, "Why?" Just play, and there was nobody else there. Obviously, it's the vaults. We were there during the afternoon. Jamie Christopher let us in, and there was and everybody just turned around and looked in the corner. I bet there was nobody there. So the Nidry Street vaults are quite good. The other vaults, as you say, we won't talk about that one.
No, we won't, please. It's a massive debate. Let's not. So we got Jennifer from America. I'm interested in this. I don't even know what part of America you're from, Jennifer.
I am from the West Coast. I'm in Oregon, the town of Madras in lovely, snowy Central Oregon right now. I used to be in California, and about 3 years ago, I moved up to Oregon. So I've been doing the paranormal stuff, over 10 years now. Was with a different team, and then I joined up with Scott and Sarah because they wanted a representative of the United States and a collaboration, and boom, here I am.
3 years. Over 3 years.
Well, technically this is the 3rd year I've been here, and technically, I guess if you count the 8 months I was in California before moving up, okay, yes, about 3 years.
So, where you are, what's the activity like? Because obviously I've spoken to Dr. Heather Lee Landon, and I've got a guest coming on Monday who I've spent so much time talking to on the internet regarding his area in America.
Mhm.
Obviously, he does more spiritual, tribal stuff.
Mhm.
What he does, Robbie. But what's the activity and the places like over in America where you are? I mean, obviously, Scott will be able to tell you.
Well,
Ours are a bit funny.
the reason why I laugh is because okay, so you have when you range the West Coast, you have California, Oregon, and Washington, pretty much hitting the West Coast. When I was in California, I went to lots of places that were majorly haunted and a lot of historical places. Here in Oregon, oh my gosh, I can't go anywhere without some kind of spirit, ghost, or whatever, or land or lore I'm running into. I actually live about 15 minutes away from a reservation. So skinwalkers are heavy lore in our
Right.
area.
I'm glad you just mentioned that. But I've got to ask, what is a skinwalker? And before you say that, please just don't say it's like a vampire, because
No, no. It depends on the Native American lore that you grow up with. The skinwalkers here on the reservation that's nearby in Warm Springs, skinwalkers are pretty much, they can look like you and me. They wear the skin of the people. They can shed the skin of human. They don't look quite human, but they're no, the first known stories of skinwalkers is that they would wear the skins of the human to blend in. But they are considered. They don't use the word demon. It's more of not a very nice spirit. Can cause a lot of destruction. Can be a bad omen. Or at least the elders I've talked to up here believe that you honor them when you do not cross them, you do not approach them, and that you don't know if you're talking to one or not.
Scott, why don't we have this sort of thing where we live, man? We don't get any of this, do we? We just get Joe Blogs.
Um, but America seems to have all the, it's got a good stuff. I mean, there's nothing up here. The only thing I've heard up here is some guy, some idiot, basically looking for a werewolf in a public park in Edinburgh. No,
Yeah, we got the same down here.
no, a werewolf, Bigfoot.
Oh no, we got the werewolf.
Oh, don't tell me about. No, we got plenty of Bigfoot. Plenty of Bigfoot.
Oh, I can't wait to interview someone about Bigfoot. I don't know how to approach it, I won't lie, but it seems a really fascinating subject to talk about. There's got to be something behind it, surely.
I'll see who I can dig up. I do have a few contacts that do Bigfoot hunting, so I'll see if I can get them to at least go your way.
Oh, that'd be nice, yeah. So, obviously, now I'm going to ask Jennifer, have you come across, and I'll use this word lightly, any, like I said, I don't want to use the word demonic, threatening presence while doing any investigations? So have you had any bad attachments or?
Attachments? No, but I have experienced malevolent and very angry spirits that were very close to demonic, in a sense. I have not had the privilege to fully be with a demonic in presence, but I have been with malevolent, and they are not nice. But then again,
No, I've experienced it myself as well.
I will say that there was one case in California that we went to, and it was on a farm, and the animals and everyone there was getting really ill, getting sick. The house, when you walked in, no matter how much light you turned on, it was dark. It was just horrible. We concluded at the end of the investigation that we weren't really dealing with a demonic, so to speak, but it was something that was very, very angry, and probably angry that they're no longer living. So they were draining the energy from the animals and the people. And we did get a couple of EVPs that ended trying to scare us, get out, you don't belong here, things like that. And so I came back, and we did, I led a cleansing with my team, and we did it in Latin, and we had Latin and English at the same time, and we went room to room, repeating the same thing, ringing bells, holy water, sage, you name it, everything went into it. And then we, at the end, opened the front door, and I pretty much did the whole Mama Bear mode and went, I'm like, get the hell out, is what I said. And the next thing we know, everyone even said it. I have one of my past investigators I used to work with, his another Scott, different Scott, said that the house all of a sudden became light. Everything was now like full of light, and you could see things in the house. It wasn't dim anymore. And he said he has never seen that ever happen. And he said, what did you do? I said, I think I scared them. That's what I think I did. I think I scared whatever it was. They're like, oh, don't mess with her. They haven't been back.
So what do you do, like house cleansings?
Mm-hmm. It's something I offer when I used to do a lot of residential investigations. One of the things that we would offer is cleansings, blessings, protections, and banishings, all those stuff, depending on what we deemed necessary. And we would cater it to the belief of the household. So if they're Catholic, they were Muslim, they were pagan, I don't care what they were, I catered it to their belief system because they also were involved with the cleansing. Because I was teaching them how to take back their house, take back their apartment, wherever they lived. So reaffirming that they are in control, that they cannot be controlled by something. I said, the minute you give them power, the minute it's done. They have power over you no matter what. I don't care if it's a demonic, an evil thing, or even something that's so happy that won't go away. As soon as you give it power, they have control. And I will say I've done 2 banishings in the past 10-ish years, and I've done 5 protections, 4 blessings, and I've lost count of the others.
You've done an exorcism. Have you been involved, like with an exorcism?
Not remotely, yes, but not in the vicinity, no. It was more remotely because of there was a priest, an Orthodox priest, that wanted some information because he was going into a household that was merely pagan and not Orthodox or Christian in any nature, and he needed to know how to approach it because he deemed, or at least the church at that time deemed, that they required an exorcism. And so I kind of pretty much gave, hey, this is my thoughts on it. Do what you will with it. I guess nothing bad happened, so that's a good thing.
Do you have any, I can't say, I won't use the word skills, abilities? Like, for me, I'm an empath, however you say it, and I experience pain and emotions. Lately, mine's turned into more shadow figures as well, which is a bit of a concern for me because I can't tell the difference between reality and non-reality.
No, I get it. This one's kind of harder to explain because it's kind of a dual thing. I've always been what I call sensitive to the unseen world, and not necessarily just paranormal. Anything of what's considered of the unseen world. I've been that way since I was a little girl. My grandmother is the one who encouraged me to not be afraid of my very first apparition. So anyway, from there, I just was able to see, sometimes hear, feel, but here's where the crossover happens. When there's death or a change in something, how do I explain this? I see this fuzz, pixelation,
like a vision.
The television or the telly is on fuzz, and that's what it looks like, and I'll see that as over someone, and it's usually because they're sick, they're ill, or they're dying. And trust me, it's not a gift I love. It's a little it's unbearing. Sometimes it's unbearable, but it makes it hard to go into certain historical locations when there's been lots of deaths there. Yeah, so those would be my abilities. I don't really have there's not really a name for it. It's just what it is. So yeah.
Scott, you look bored, mate. So I'm going to crack on with you now.
No,
Here we go.
I enjoy
Right,
it. Beautiful. I'm certainly not bored.
I know. And hi, by the way, everybody. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just, once you're in the subject and you're deep in thought, you carry on, and I'm just playing with it for a minute. So, Scott, my man, obviously we've worked together in the past. I know you was doing a few projects.
Yep.
How is the Wallace Trail coming on?
We're hoping to start filming that next month. We had 3 days last year for doing it, but due to either weather or people being ill on both sides, it just didn't happen. So I'm talking to the Society of Wallace, and we're going to get a date set for others.
I can't hear you guys.
Yeah, I've just added in now.
I don't know what's up. I cannot hear a single thing. Give me 2 seconds, okay? I can't hear a single thing. Okay?
All right. So
I will talk to the Society next week, this coming week, and we'll be setting a date for film, but it's definitely going ahead this year. We'll be doing the Wallace Trail.
Good. I'm looking forward to that, mate. I wouldn't mind having a shot at that. It was weird because you said to me when I got there, because I said to you I'm half Scottish from my father, and the first thing you said to me was, do you actually know anything about Scotland? And when you mentioned William Wallace, I just told you, of Braveheart. He went, no, there's more to the guy than just the bloody film. Yeah, I won't forget that.
That's the reason we're doing it. We've had the Society on a couple of times on the show, and I was Gary, who's going to run the Society, and that's a really sobering. But I've saw it millions of times. I think it's a brilliant film. Some bits are a wee bit iffy, but however, generally it's a good film. But everybody just imagines William Wallace. He was he started out to be a farmer, and then the English killed his wife, so he had to war with the English, killed a load of English guys, and they caught him, executed him, job done. But there's so much more to William Wallace behind the scenes. That's why we're calling it Forgotten Braveheart. There's so many locations up here that are associated with Wallace that people don't know about, and so that's what we're going to focus on. The places that are less known about Wallace, and obviously the Society will be there, and they'll be giving us the history of different places that we go to. It's not to educate people, it's to just show them who William Wallace was. He was a lot bigger than the character that Mel Gibson portrayed. There was a lot more to the guy, and he was a very, very intelligent man, not just in warfare, but in general as well, and a lot of people don't, understand this. So that's why we're doing the Wallace Trail, which we're looking forward to. But as you say, you didn't have a clue about anything about Scotland and William Wallace and all that.
It was shocking, I have to admit. Even I can say it was shocking. I got drilled about it for the whole weekend. So I won't forget that. So what other projects have you got, mate? What other projects have we got? You've got loads.
Scott has a lot going on.
Aye, I wasn't on up here. We've got quite a lot of lives lined up. We have a Polish girl coming over next week. She was on the show the other night, Paulina. She's coming to Glasgow next week, so we're going to be filming with her. We're heading to Fife in February. to do a live with Leonard Lowe, who was on the show the other night. He's a witchcraft expert, so we've got that coming up. We're doing a live for his home about all his. He's got all these artifacts for the actual witch trials, and so he's going to be showing his aim. And Jennifer, I don't know if you caught the show the other night. He actually showed us. It was a piece of wood shaped into a book from the. I want to say the Boston elm. Is it the elm tree?
Okay, what about the elm tree?
The Boston Tea Party was held underneath an elm tree. Is that right?
No, not completely.
And as part it's where they used to hang the witches from.
Okay, I tell you what. From the American side of things, what I can do is for paranormal and history. I have a couple of stories that have been told that I just have to dig them out, of the history, the actual history of the Boston Tea Party and the paranormal connections to it. I'll have to make sure I get that done, because there's a lot to it, and it's not just because of an elm tree. Woo!
I didn't hear that. I've probably got it wrong. Knowing me, I've got it wrong.
No, it's like anyone knows, really. So John, between Scotland and over here in America, we tend to ask each other questions a lot, going, okay, we heard this, is this true? And he'll ask me all the time, is this true? Does this happen? And then of course I return, I'm like, okay, I saw this on Amazon Prime. Is this true?
Like Scott, you said earlier before we went live, unless you go to these locations or you research it yourself, everything's second-hand information. And unfortunately, the second-hand information that you get can destroy everything that you've worked towards. Like you were saying earlier, 30 East Drive. I mean, for me, I visited 30 East Drive only once. I got a picture, and there was some footage regarding a blind spirit box. Other than that, there was just normal dragging sounds through the ceiling, which I thought was normal anyway in a place like that, because there's a lot of attachments. People think it's one thing there. It's not. It's multiple attachments. We worked out there was over 10,000 people a year going through the house. You know, there's no black monk. I don't believe the black monk is there. If he ever was there, he's not there now. It's just attachments. But it's second-hand information. But Scott, there was one thing I was going to ask you, if I remember rightly. Weren't you going to be doing an investigation on the water?
We were, we were about to do it about Halloween, but the weather up here was too grand, and getting out in the water wasn't really a good idea.
I want to see that. I'm intrigued to see that. I really am.
So we'll be getting back in touch with the boat company, and we'll be getting that underway as well. We're also resurrecting Elysium. We've got quite a few road trips planned, and quite a few lives right through to the end of March. We've got the Ghoul Gang coming. We've got this girl next week to Poland. The Ghoul Gang's up here in February. And then we're heading to London around about June, July time, and then on down to Southampton. So we decided this year. Last year we done a ton of lives, you know, and no disrespect to any. We love our guests, obviously, but I was thinking this year to try and change it around a wee bit and do more road trips. You know, whether up north and what have you, weather permitting that in Scotland.
But there's nothing to stop you doing it live anyway, mate, while you're on your road trip. It's like I've realised, watching everyone's lives, nobody does a live on location.
Well, we've tried it a few times, but, you know, usually the signal lets us down, but we've tried it a couple of times, but we're going to be doing a lot more of them this year. But I'm going to plug one show that we've got coming in February, the 2nd of February.
Hello.
I think Jennifer knows what that show is. I'm going to. Even so.
But John, it's true. A lot of them don't do a live show during their investigation, or at least leading up to it. Scott has seen me do a couple of lives prior to an investigation while I'm on my investigations. But it really depends on, at least for me, it depends on whether or not I have internet access, or if there's, because if I'm in a dead zone, there is something I'm currently investigating, which has no internet access. So I have to take everything, film everything, and then I have to bring it home. So I can't. Yeah.
That is the thing that lets you didn't kind of the signal. But as I say, I'm going to plug one show that we're doing the 2nd of February. It's no paranormal. It's kind of history, but it's out of our normal sort of thingy. It's what? I'm slagged here. But it's a Elvis show with Elvis expert Melanie Wade on the 2nd of February. It's all about the lives and times of Elvis. David Espinosa and Craig Arns are coming on the panel with us as well. And it's got to be talking about Elvis's life and his career and stuff like that. But so I'm plugging that one because I'm a major Elvis fan. So, you know, apologies for anybody who doesn't like it, but I have to plug that one. You know. Yeah, but normally,
he's an Elvis fan and he's
always.
Craig, can you hear us now, Craig?
Sorry, say that again.
Can you hear us now?
I can hear you now.
Yes, fine. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
Right, guys, so obviously now we have Craig's just joined us from Paranormal and History Scotland, works alongside Scott. So we were just talking about the Wallace Trail, and Scott started talking about Elvis.
I might plug that show because it's a big thing for me, but you know,
of course it is. People don't realise. I said this on with Rigger on Saturday last week. People don't realise that when you do the paranormal, we don't just look for spirits, we look at history. History's a big thing for you, Scott. I know it has been since I've known you. History is a big thing. But people don't understand that research and the history that comes with everything we do when we are looking for things. People just think, like, I had another guest on who just said, people think you just go out and just look for things. It's not a case of that. You have to build up like a case file to work on. Jennifer, there was a question I wanted to ask you regarding that. I've done it, but I wanted to know whether you've been involved in cold cases.
Cold cases?
Yeah.
Let me think. I guess, yeah. Without realizing it. It's one of those things where you kind of stumble onto something and then find out that it's never been solved. Yeah, I guess you could say yes. I
ask everyone because being an investigator, somewhere down the line, you would have done some form of cold case.
Right. No, you're right. I just didn't think of it as a cold case when it's like, okay, here's some information. And then that information, when you start looking at the information, okay, I'm digging, I'm looking on, God, I love registers, going to registers. And then you're like, wait, why is this all of a sudden dropped? There's the history is just no longer there. It's like, okay, they give up. There's no more police report. There's no more anything. And then you realize you're getting information from your paranormal investigation that people never thought in a million years you're going to come back with. And now you have to second guess. And then I'm like, okay, maybe that is a cold case. I never really thought of it like that. That's cool. I like that.
I asked because I did an investigation in a school in Moulton, just outside Rotherham, and I've only just found out. I've got people still looking at the files at the moment. It's an active 50-year-old plus open cold case of a 14-year-old schoolgirl.
Oh wow!
Now, it wasn't until we went to the school did we start to realise things. Now, obviously, I did the live. A lot watched it, but I had a lady from Australia come back to me. She's a seer, and basically she broke everything down for me in segments. how her father had met the killer the day, the same morning before his daughter was murdered. You know, it's weird what she came out with. She gave me how she was found, all sorts. When I looked at the case files, it's amazing to find out that this lady had never ever been to the UK, yet she was able to tell me exactly what was on that case file, how they found her, what she was strangled with, everything. It shocks me, but I had to take it seriously because there was certain bits of information that hadn't been released that only the police knew about. So it's like, but because it's active, I can't get involved.
Right.
But they say after 50 years, it's supposed to automatically shut down.
Yeah, they do. Unless they actively reopen the case, like the Zodiac. The Zodiac is considered a still open case, even though it's been so many years. They close it, they open it. They close it, they open it. It's constantly open, close, open, close, open, close with the Zodiac. In all the cases because they keep
I'm trying to think who he is, the Zodiac.
Is Zodiac killer? I think it was San Francisco?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Night
San
Stalker.
Bernardino, Vallejo, he was in that whole area. But that's one that keeps getting reopened. I'm thinking things that are older than me. I'm 47, so I'm like, okay, things that were older than me that became a cold case, got reopened, and keeps going back and forth. The murder of Natalie Wood, cold case. A lot of people also think that her ghost is around. That one keeps opening and closing. The Black Dahlia, another possible cold case, keeps getting reopened, right? Also, lots of paranormal activity involving her. But those are famous ones that never got a closure. So yeah.
Craig, I've got to ask you stuff. Got to think now. This will be interesting.
Yeah.
So, Craig, obviously you work alongside Scott. I think I've met you. I'm not sure.
I think I recognize your voice. I think you have. Yeah.
Yeah, we did the vaults.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
did that. Yeah.
Yeah, we won't say no more on that. So I'm going to ask, what do you do within the team working alongside Scott?
I guess basically it's my wife and I who kind of like work together.
Yeah, that's Laura, isn't it?
Yep, Laura.
Yeah.
And we're kind of more the research kind of like side. If there's history needs looking up, or if we're going into a place, we'll check out, go on Google, have a wee look around, see if there's any photographs, see if there's any sort of like different stories or anything like that basically that we need to know before actually, heading off and heading over to a place. We also write reports for the page and everything like that, little bits of history. I've been doing a lot of research into local coal mining. There was a local, where we are in Kilmarnock, there are a lot of coal pits round about where we are. And it's like really quite interesting going into the history of the coal pits and of the quarries and everything like that. It's just kind of, I would also say as part of the team, when we're out doing something like investigations, I would say that I'm also kind of one of the main skeptics of the team, because I'm the one, if we're getting out and we're getting voices, I'm the one that's kind of like going around checking that no doors are open, checking nobody's around, checking that, I'll always be the first one kind of like going, hang on, I'm just going to walk around the perimeter, just check everything's fine, check everything's... It's one of the good things about being in this team is just like we've got, we all work together onto it. And yeah, we might have voices coming through or might have anything, but we instinctively think the first thing we sort of like instinctively say is, you know, could this be something else? You know, could this be, you know, could this be a thing, you know, that can be easily explained? And I think that basically in every good ghost team anyway is that you have to have that, you know, a level of skepticism onto it.
Yeah, we don't get
Basically,
that.
you have to have that kind of like, you have to, not everything's going to be a ghost, not everything's going to be, you know,
I
going to
had this
be sort of like
conversation with Rigger.
paranormal. It's just,
We had to
you know,
chat with Rigger about this.
mhm,
A lot of teams, obviously, you know that I'm in the northern part of England, basically.
yeah,
We have a lot of teams around here that think everything is true to its words, basically. So, like
yeah,
I said to Scott about it in the past,
mhm,
for me, you have to have a skeptic in the team. I don't care who you are, what you are. You have to have a skeptic in the team. If you don't have a skeptic in the team, everything you shoot is going to be 100% paranormal or
yeah,
an alien. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, we have a lot of
mhm,
teams here who are actually like that.
mhm,
And some of the evidence lately, I mean, I've given up watching a lot of
mhm,
evidence that goes up. To the point I've deleted a lot of teams now for either it's fake or people are putting up stuff. Mainly at
yeah,
the moment, we got down here is, you know, your night lights, and you're like
yeah,
watching your car, and all of a sudden you see something go past the camera. It's a
mhm,
bloody bug.
Mhm.
But
yeah,
no, everybody's saying it's an orb.
yeah,
I can
and
see
that's
it.
it.
I knew there was going to be. I've got to ask. Orbs. I love this conversation.
Oh, you had this one. Can I
Go
go
for it.
first?
Go for it, Jennifer. Go for it.
Okay, I'm not a total believer on orbs, but there's things I
Mhm,
have seen but not captured, because
mhm,
obviously when you see it, it's not going to be captured on film because it's too fast. But anyway, I did a lot of research on what makes orbs: the dust, the bugs, the light refraction and reflection. So I did all those. So I have I actually do have these pictures here. So when someone sends me an orb, or I have a picture with what looks like an orb in it, I can go, okay. I'm like, here, I'm putting it up here and putting it next to it, going, okay, does it look? What am I looking at? Okay, that's similar. I'm rewinding, looking again. I'm like, okay, did I see it with the naked eye, or did it just show up because of my flash? Take it without a flash. If it shows up without a flash, okay, now we have something that we might be able to maybe discount, not necessarily. Where's the other light sources? Is it being refracted from anywhere else? Bugs are notorious for reflecting and refracting light sources. Same with dust. Dust, when it picks up, can look really, really huge when it was only that tall.
mhm,
But this is where my skepticism gets trumped by my unfortunate reality of seeing something I can't explain. I mean, as far as it looked like an orb, it looked like a big light orb. And mind you, I didn't have anything running. I had no camera. I had no EV. I didn't even have EVP's session going. I was just standing there on a dirt road. It was cold. No one had gone by. I turned. All of a sudden, I'm trying to debunk it. I am literally trying to debunk this big round ball of light coming at me, coming forward, and then just zoom the other way for no reason. It just went down a different road, which me and my wonderful astuteness says, I'm going to follow it because I want to know what it was. Could not find an explanation for it. So I guess in hindsight, for me, the only true orbs are ones I can't explain. If I have debunked it to death and there's no explanation, no rhyme, no reason, okay, was it paranormal? I don't know. If you go by the definition of paranormal, yes. If you go by the definition of paranormal according to TV shows, no. So there's the hindsight. So there you go.
Craig, I've got to ask you, Craig, what is the highest? Well, I've got to put this right now. What's the highest profiled research that you've done on a case? What case has been your highest, as in
Highest profile,
like serial killer,
serial
history?
killer history. Really, I would go for sort of like, it's not really serial killer, but I mean, we've got an ongoing investigation at Loudon Kirk, which is a small, derelict old chapel that not far from us, which we have been in constant contact. Well, not constant contact, but we've been contacting the families, basically by the spirits of the local farmers that lived in the area, particularly sort of like one family, and it's been really sort of like ongoing, going into the history. We've been talking to the people that now live in in the house where they used to live, and we've been doing investigations into that, and it's been really sort of like, it's the longest sort of like investigation that we've been really going into. It's been going on for about well over a year. It's been looking into this family and looking into basically how the history of how the land was worked, what they used, what the family used, and going up into basically the 1900s. As far as I think, serial killers or anything like that, we don't really generally do that kind of like that side of things. We don't really investigate. We might report a little bit on it, things like doing Edinburgh and doing the Edinburgh vaults and a lot of the sort of like stuff around that. You can't help but get into the kind of like the creepy grave robber type of side of things, but and yes, that is entertaining, but we're much more round about the history, the local history, exploring that side of things, normal people, because I think a lot of people, what people tend to forget is just like when you're in a graveyard, these are people's lives, and an awful lot of graveyards just now are old, decrepit, people forget them, like that. And I feel that basically when we're going into a graveyard, we're remembering those people, right? Maybe somebody has forgot, or maybe somebody has, you pass by a graveyard day in, day out, or people just pass it by and they're just sort of like, they're just gravestones. It's just a graveyard, but these are people that lived, and they had a life. They had, they had a love. They had families. They had lifestyles and everything. And it's fascinating getting into that side of things of just like what people did for a living, or what people, how people actually lived, and finding out about, the family circumstances and everything like that. But so I would kind of like say that, yeah, the highest kind of like profile thing would be, looking into the Loudon Kirk kind of like cases and the people that work the land around there. And it's absolutely, it's fantastic. It's fantastic going into that history.
See, I like that as your team. You do a lot of history. Obviously, I do a lot of research, but I don't do a lot of history. Only when I start looking into war memorials for me at the moment, or I'm actually studying serial killers right now, funny enough, in America. Hoping to come across a few doctors regarding that. I'm also intrigued about a few other things that are coming up, like paganism, witches, and warlocks, all about Reiki masters, got all of that. But your team, Scott, focused mainly on the history of forgotten sites, I would say. It's nice to have a team, for once, that focus mainly on the history rather than going looking for a particular spirit. As you well know, 99% of the time people go to these sites and they're going to look for a specific spirit.
No,
Obviously, you know as well as I do, it doesn't work like that.
No.
But it is actually nice to see that you're promoting the country's history. I mean, I don't know jack about Scotland, like I say, and I lived in Edinburgh for 2 years. That's how much I know.
You see that
Yeah.
history, we do focus on history because everything's history. It doesn't matter. Yesterday's history, it doesn't matter what it is. But I mean, we've covered, Jennifer, as well, a load of subjects, and like William Wallace, Mary Queen of Scots, 8th, Pendle Witches, all the witch trials, Edinburgh, the Cape George Mackenzie, the Covenanters, everything, because there's a whole lot that people don't know. I mean, you talk, Henry VIII, for instance, everybody knows he was married 6 times. But people really know who the guy was. Did people know that he started off as a good king and then he turned into a tyrant? Was it due to a head injury with a jousting accident, stuff like that? It's stuff that a lot of people don't actually know. Same as Mary Queen of Scots. Sarah done a whole thing with Mary Queen of Scots. And there was a lot that I didn't know, all the witch trials, Pendle witches. We've done forgotten Pendle as well. Everybody just, Pendle witches, 1612, they were tried, they were hung. But not a lot of people know the background to the story. That it was all because of one child and a man's ego. That these people were executed, the day trials came ahead. And you've got the other side with, the whole witchcraft, witch trials. Would there have been witch trials if James I, and Queen Anne of Denmark hadn't been caught in that storm on their way back to Scotland?
Yeah.
Because that's what kicked it off. He was convinced it was witches were trying to kill him. And
he was already convinced before that. That just kind of put the nail in the coffin.
James, he came up and ramped it right up. He went right after him. There's tons of history there, and as Craig was saying earlier on, Lloyd and Kurt, we've been there for about 2 years now, over 2 years, and we've built up the trust with the spirits in the nearby farm where these, this one family used to live. And you're building up a story about them. You're building, because everybody just looks at headstones and will say, "Oh, that's nice, that's lovely," but they don't actually read them. I remember there's quite a lot in Greyfriars, but one day I was in, and one headstone, and this is massive, it's right in the bottom, and it gave you the names, dates, and everything. And there was, it was a family, and 2 of their children died very, very young. You're talking infancy, within a year of each other. I think, well, I wonder how they died. What happened to them? Was it a disease? And then the wife, the husband. I think, well, what killed the wife? And, did the husband die of a broken heart, kind of thing? And it makes you think. And it's stuff like that fascinates me anyway.
Yeah.
But there's a load of history, and there's no ignorance or anything, but there's a lot of people that aren't aware of, a lot of the bits and pieces yet. So that's what I like to look into. That makes sense.
It's the history that makes the country, isn't it? As well as I do. The problem is there's a lot of history that people don't know. I mean, I won't lie. When it comes to Scotland, I ain't got a clue.
Well, I mean, look at when I gave you a wee walk around Greyfriars. that night you were up and I gave you a walk around Greyfriars and you didn't have a clue. No, we're not affected. It's not your fault. But, you know, Kenzie to me in the Covenant's prison or what have you. There's just a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
That's very true.
The coin is the problem there is that when you get people who don't know, they tend to make up.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is why
Second-hand information.
right. If you have the history and here's the paranormal claims, where's the connection?
Aye.
If you have the paranormal claims and then the history this can't sandwich together, then there's something wrong with the story. And then or the claims. Yes, people have been known to have attachments and have things with them. Okay, yeah. They come with you, whatever, they come to your investigation. Okay, sure. But when people try to take historical claims paranormally and then try to make it real, and you're like, it doesn't work. How do you get that to mesh? I mean, sure, you're going to have certain things that do cross over, but when you try to say, oh gosh,
It's when you make up.
no, you have one historical evidence and you have a concrete historical thing, and then here comes the paranormal, and it kind of goes boom because it doesn't make sense. So I hate that. It's not that I don't hate it. I loathe that. Oh my god, I love it so much.
You know, one example is, you know, the Mackenzie poltergeist in Greyfriars. You get
I
paranormal
was
team,
just thinking that. Yeah.
you know, George Mackenzie poltergeist, they still haunts Greyfriars. That's all the bollocks. The Mackenzie poltergeist doesn't exist. If people actually took the time to research where the Mackenzie poltergeist originated, it originated from Jan Henderson, who wrote the book The Ghost Who Haunts Itself. Jan Henderson owns City of the Dead Tours, which operate in Greyfriars and the Covenant's prison. Now, the Covenant's prison, there's been 3,000 documented reports of different things happening. Jan Henderson wrote a book about it, and he needed to give this, entity, spirit, whatever you want, a name. So he thought, I'm going to call it the Mackenzie poltergeist. That was it. But then all of a sudden, all these monkeys out there that are saying Mackenzie poltergeist is real. We melt them in Greyfriars. It's crap. It doesn't exist, but the people just don't do their research. You know, if
I
you're
have
going,
a problem with them calling it a poltergeist.
that's what you can. No,
I really have a problem calling it a poltergeist, but they are not.
But it's, you know, if you're going to do, actually, that's a Jamie Kistorpin when we did one of the shows together. If you're going to come on and talk about history, you're never going to get it 100% right. There's going to be big dates. You know, you're going to get something wrong. But at least do the research so that when you do your show or your tour, whatever it is you're doing, you've got a rough idea what you're talking about. You know, you might as well say you might get one thing wrong. We have. Certainly.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I just did that during our Halloween thing when I was doing some history in Oregon, and I was taking it from a book, and then I was doing my research on it about the supposed witch that was buried in the cemetery. And then I found 2 different stories about this woman. And so I'm like, okay, where do I go with this? And without having to travel to said town, I just started finding documents after documents to find out, okay, was the woman real? Found out she was real. Where she was buried? Found out where she was buried. And then I found out that part of the story is made up. Gotta love that. But the ghost story and legend exists because people want to believe.
It's kind of like it's differentiating the sort of like the myth from the fact, and sort of like sometimes story can go so far back that the myth and facts get mixed up, and it becomes basically true. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like the story of Tam O'Shanter, Robert Burns. There's lots of people. I've met people out there, like from America or France, who are sure that basically it's a true story. Basically, there was a guy called Tam O'Shanter, you know, and okay, yes, the places are real, the air is real, Brigadoon is real and everything, but there's, there's the story is purely sort of like made up, but I'm sure that there's been like quite a few people gone out to the old Curta air and tried to sort of like summon the devil, because that's what happens in the story of Tam O'Shanter. There's some people that have tried to summon Tam O'Shanter himself, or and Robert Burns, even though Robert Burns, they've tried to sort of like get the spirit of Robert Burns, but even though Robert Burns is not buried there, he's buried someplace else. His barber's buried there, but but he isn't. It's just take the time to research. Take research is what I always say. Just delve in, and before you go, do your research.
I'll give you a classic Glasgow one, right? And I've done this before, right? No, this happens a lot in the necropolis in the city centre in Glasgow. It's a massive. People, I've seen so many paranormal teams go in there and say they've encountered the Gorbals vampire.
Yeah.
And they found the grave of the Gorbals vampire. No, the Gorbals vampire was a story that appeared in a comic book in 1958. The Gorbals is an area in the south of Glasgow. And it was kids, they got hold of this comic book and they read this story about a vampire, 6 feet tall, it was made up. So there's a southern necropolis in the Gorbals. So the kids went, and you know how it is when you're a kid, you're going to play, you're going to read a story and then you're going to act it out with all your friends. Well, they decided we'll go to the graveyard and we'll kid on Gorbals vampire. For some, they told their parents about it, and for some reason, some of the adults believed it. And they got the police involved, and it was all over the press and everything. And they had people in this graveyard, cemetery, hunting down this vampire. And so to this day, I watched one individual investigate it, and she says, right, I found the grave of the vampire. This is a grave here. Number one, it was just a made-up story, but number two, she was in the right cemetery. The cemetery that the story was, the kids played in was about 2 miles south. She was in the right necropolis. But she's given it, this is the grave here. And she actually says somebody's painted the railings as well, but which was awfully nice of them. But it's stuff like this, and you think, do your research, read up on it. Because the Gorbals vampire doesn't exist. Kids, it's a kid's story. Do you know what I mean? And it really it really annoys you. And I've spoken to a few people who from Glasgow. Have you ever investigated the Gorbals vampire? No, I've no bother with this.
Mate, I wouldn't bother investigating anything with the word vampire. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Good evening, Turkey Paranormal and Sten. Oh, mate, I just wouldn't bother. For me, I think the biggest conflict in history for me would be, when it comes to research, is Jack the Ripper and H.H. Holmes. That is the only thing that I would call conflict in. It's hard. Like you say, do your history. It's a project I was going to work with Sten, funny enough, was Jack the Ripper. I've got artifacts, but they're all replicas. But you would not believe some of the people they've got as mugshots, and not one of them represents H.H. Holmes, yet he's involved in it somehow. But like I said, he's supposed to be.
It's a conflict with H.H. Holmes. I feel so.
It's messed up.
Yeah, well, even before he was H.H. Holmes, when he went by his other name, he did stuff prior to that. He actually ended up helping his partner kill his children and his, and all that just to get insurance money. I'm like, okay, Mudget, he wasn't dumb. He was pretty smart. But I get it, where there's a lot of correlation where people want to believe. I totally get it. His journal, there's now contradictory of whether or not he actually penned that journal that is now turned into a book. I don't know. I've never finished reading it. But you're right. You know, where does the history go and where does it collab? I mean, you got Jack the Ripper and H.H. Holmes sort of cross paths only because they were during a certain amount of time. But if people do the research, there's certain things that H.H. Holmes was doing at a certain time that Jack the Ripper supposedly was doing it at the same time. How can one person be in two places?
Exactly. The problem is, there's believing, and then there is believing.
Right.
And nowadays, people can't tell the difference. If I've got friends, we went out and did an investigation in the field up at some wooded area, and we were looking for a grey lady being thrown off White Cliffs. I will remember it in a minute because it was quite a big story. Another myth, funny enough. And apparently she haunts these woods for like 500 years. All because her husband, the night before their wedding, threw her off a cliff. So that's the myth. But we were up in the fields, and I won't lie, right? I saw what looked like strobe lights up in the sky. Basically, they were at a weird angle. 90% of my team swore they saw a UFO.
Well, technically, didn't they? I mean, if you go by the definition.
Yeah, unidentified flying object.
Unidentified flying object. I mean, you can't identify it.
Yeah.
But the problem was, you could see the strobes.
Definition.
I didn't get to see the lights. All I saw was the strobes. But they all swore they saw something come within about 100 meters of us.
You know,
Like I said, there's believing,
right.
and then there's believing. And people could make something out of nothing. And for the paranormal field in the UK, I won't say about it because I don't know what America's like, but for the UK, we have too much of this. We have so much, and people believing something out of nothing. And for us, it's destroying our fields, and it's hitting us quite hard. There is so much conflict at the moment regarding what's real, what's not, people slating it. We've also got para-unity, which I won't go on about because I'll be here all week. And then you've got others that are just, our field is in turmoil here in the UK. It doesn't matter what we do or what we produce, there's always somebody there to go, that's not right, that's not true. No matter how much we do, research especially, doesn't matter where we get it from, people don't believe it. There's a situation in a church, St. Baltos at Skid Row. We got 4 unmarked graves, basically. And I was on a stream doing a live feed on these graves. These merchant navy guys have been killed basically in action in the estuary by a Japanese submarine. Right now, 2 problems with this for me, even though I read this online. How the hell is a Japanese submarine doing in the estuary in the UK undetected? 1. And 2, why was it put online? That's a research I got, and I got that off the military site. Because like I said, I do a lot of military research. But that was on a military site. A guy came on, and he said to me, it wasn't hit with a torpedo by a Japanese sub. They hit a mine. That's a big difference to what was being said online by a military site to the actual truth. And the problem is people in our industry, I'd say, can't call it that, or field, will make up anything to get somewhere. In the UK, Scott and Craig know a lot about it. A lot of people do paranormal in the UK to try and get famous.
Oh yeah.
No, this is
But it's
US.
horrific. It is horrific. I have seen so many teams do this. If you're going to join the paranormal field, the first thing you do is not look for fame. This ain't about fame. You know, I've been on TV, I've been in the papers. I did say to Scott when he interviewed me one time about it, I said, I had my 5 minutes of fame, and do you know what? I felt like shit. It was the worst thing I ever had. Those 5 minutes, I just felt dead. There was nothing to it.
Yeah.
You know, I've been recognised, great. But what was I actually being recognised for? I took a picture. Anybody could have done that. But no, there's a lot of people, teams in the UK, and they are falling apart. We've got a lot, actually. In fact, 3 fell apart in Northern England this week, who go fame hunting. You know, and they'll make something out of nothing about it. And I could name many teams down here. I won't, because I'll start World War III. But it's like I say to people, when you go on an investigation, do you go to debunk or do you go to prove?
See, we don't go to do either. We just, I say this to people as well. I mean, up here the problem is there's too many people ready to label, I call it the paranormal wagon. You know, everything's paranormal. Somebody farts next to you, that was paranormal. We go and do investigations and we just get what we get. We don't go to debunk, we don't go to prove. We go to, because we love doing it and hopefully to make, you know, some kind of communication with whatever spirit may be there. You know, you get these teams who say, there's spirits in there. You know, definitely John, Dick and Harry's in there, so we're going in to see them. We just say we're going into whoever may be there. You know, we always debunk. We were saying everyone being skeptic. I think it's good that if everybody in the team is a little bit skeptic, you know, we've seen these teams out there that are all 100%, none of them skeptic. Least to bother, but if everybody in the team is a little bit skeptic, it makes everybody question what they've heard, what they might have seen, you know, what that noise might have been. And I think it's a better way, but no, there's too many people jumping on the paranormal wagon. I had a video call with Brian earlier on, and we were talking about the fame thing as well, you know, TV and want to get your own TV series. And it's not about that, it's about we go out and do, you know, because we love doing it. And if we can get, you know, if we can make contact with a spirit or 10, then fine. If we go out and we get nothing, you still have a good night because you're doing what you do, what you enjoy. You know what I mean?
We proved that at Edinburgh, didn't we?
No, that's why when people ask me, it's like, how do you treat investigations? I said, I do it like Sherlock Holmes. I know he's a fictional character, but the way that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote him to be a skeptical believer. And that's why you have, debunk, but now I can no longer debunk it. There's this much I can't do. So when I tell people that, they're like, what? You do what? I'm like, really? I Sherlock Holmes it. No joke. I go from as much as I can and I research and I'm like, okay, that's explainable. That's explainable. Now I'm at the point where I can no longer explain, so it must be the truth. I can't explain it away. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, and then I turn to them like, you've never read Sherlock Holmes, have you? I'm like, no. And I'm like, oh, wait, I just gave myself away. Here I am, this American, reading Sherlock Holmes and doing everything like Sherlock Holmes. But they're like, oh, that's smart.
You do. I mean, there was one night, you and I, we were at Woodincock and we were at the Dempster family plot down the back. And we heard what we can only describe as a metal clang. We done it as a live, but the camera, the sound, we didn't pick up the sound, but we both heard it. And was nothing that could have made that sound, but we didn't start shouting, "That's paranormal, that's definitely a spirit." And, you know, it's unexplained. We couldn't find anything to make the noise. It was the caught in camera, so we couldn't say, "Did you hear that?" And you move on.
Well, right. Well, it's the same thing. I mean, like John was saying that, you know, if you don't go in, you know, are you the debunker, are you the believer? I've been to many places where I've had to be the historical person going, this is the sound you're hearing. This is what's happening. It's documenting of what the sound is. And they go, no, it's a dog. It's a dog. I'm like, no, it's not a dog. I'm telling you, it's not a dog. Here, let me show you. Yeah. They don't want to know the truth. They're like so stuck on that it's paranormal automatically. And I'm like, okay, no matter what I say, no matter how much I give you, if I go and even show you why it's making that sound, you're not going to believe it. I've had that happen too much. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever, you do you kind of thing.
That's kind of like, you know, I blame all these kind of like entertainment shows for sort of like people who wanting to go on a ghost hunt, expecting to be scared, expecting to have sort of like a sound come through. And the time is not that we don't do it. We don't have sort of like members of the public come in. If people want to, they can, you know, they can join us. Or sometimes when we're out at a location, we might bump into somebody who just happens to be in the area, you know, and we will invite them if they want to, just to kind of come in. But one of the first things we'll always say is just like, we don't know what's going to happen. Nothing might happen. You know, we might be here for a couple of hours and get, you know, and get bunkum, you know, get absolutely, you know, it's all. But it's the people that sort of like come in and just like, oh, we're going to get some, it's going to be scary tonight. It's going to be the thing, we're going to get voices and everything. And oh, it's so fantastic. This is well creepy, you know. And you just like, you sit there and you put your hands on your face and you just kind of go, no, you're going to be cold. You may be going to be wet. You're going to be freezing. You're going to be asking the same questions about 50, 100 times. And you're going to be sitting in the dark whilst doing this. The thing is, like Scott says, you're doing it with your best mates. You're doing it with something that you love, and it's brilliant. But you can kind of see why people sort of like come in, will just go, expecting to get scared and noises everywhere. People tend to forget that these programs have been edited down from like 5 or 6 hours in one location down to like a 45-minute program, you know, onto it. So you don't see the hours of waiting around. You don't see the hours of them hooking up the cameras. You don't see the hours of them sitting with their cups of coffee, freezing their backside off. And it's what
they don't shoot. I mean, there's things.
You know, they don't show the kind of, you know, you just kind of like sitting around, you know, waiting there's no sort of like makeup people kind of like powdering their nose and everything like that. It's just, you know, I've seen too many sort of like people come in and just go, it's boring. You just go, yeah, it is. It can be. It's just like any other hobby or job. Sometimes great things will happen, but other times, no, majority of the times, no, you're just going to be, you know, you're just going to be cold and by yourself, sometimes by yourself in a room, which we sometimes do, you know, and, you know, we're kind of, you know, it's just going to be cold and boring and very sort of like dark. And it's a bit of a shock to some people.
Do you know what? It just reminds me of Edinburgh. So obviously I ran the event.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, it was. When you said all that, I was thinking That's Edinburgh all over. I ran the event for 5 paranormal teams, 1 events company apart from myself, and 4 members of the public. We were supposed to do 12 till 6 in the morning. I'm not even going to describe what happened, but I will say the members of the public left within 45 minutes.
Yeah.
All paranormal teams and events companies called it quits after 90 minutes on a place that was so hyped up. It was ridiculous. We had 2 nightclubs going. We had the flat above us. And yet we were supposed to conduct an investigation in a building, which I thought, to be fair, we were going underground. And it turns out we went up 2 flights of steps. So we could say so much about this, because when I had Rigger on last Saturday, we, like I said to you, we all, between all the teams, destroyed this location, being 100% man-made, and that things have been put in there, or so people think. But the price for it was ridiculous, nearly £2,000 to hold an event there, and we were finished in 90 minutes. Nobody was happy. All the evidence was contaminated. It was pointless. And for me, it was, we met more friends than we did anything else. Now, this is how I became acquainted with Scott and his team, was through Edinburgh. If it wasn't for the votes, it'd just be a normal team. But as it was horrific.
I would say
I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. I think we've all have dealt with something like that, but it's just horrible.
But it was a case of, as an events company that coordinated this, it was called off in 90 minutes. And this was by all teams. We all came to the conclusion there was nothing paranormal about it. There was nothing going to happen paranormal. Everything was man-made, and we'd all been led to believe.
That happens a lot, unfortunately.
For a paid event, it was shocking. But, we had, obviously, Craig was there, Scott was there, we had Rigger was there, the 2 ladies from Scotland Paranormal were there. There was an events company there, and like I said, 4 members of the public lasted 45 minutes. They had to get a train back to Livingston at 1:45.
Oh, good luck.
From Edinburgh. It was, they had more fun in the graveyard than what I did in that bloody building.
I am so sorry.
That's why one of the reasons I like to choose, we like to choose, places that are unknown.
Yeah. I'd like to say abandoned, but they're not abandoned because everything's owned by somebody.
I mean, for us, take Loudon Kirk. The Loudon Kirk's in the middle of nowhere. It's not even on a main road. You need to go down a wee country road to get to this place. And we've had more results out of there than we have anywhere else. Like Caldwell as well, Caldwell Estate. We spent 2 months there. I don't know how many investigations we've done there, but very little's known about it. People drive by the gate every day. I probably don't. I drove by it as well, before I knew about it. And we got tons of evidence at Caldwell over the 2 months. And I find this that if you want to experience a paranormal investigation, somebody asked me a few weeks ago in a group I was in, I'm going my first paranormal investigation. What's the best way to do it? And I said, well, expect nothing. That's if you want to start out in the paranormal, then don't go to no offense to these locations, but don't go to somewhere that's all hyped up. There's hundreds of spirits here, blah blah. go somewhere quiet, some safe. Obviously, that's top priority. But go somewhere quiet that nobody knows about, and try it there and see what happens. Surprised, rather it's in the vaults, or that's in the vaults anyway.
I find paid locations nowadays. Now, obviously, I've done a lot of investigations with paid locations, being an events company for 2 years. But I find that when you go to paid events, it's like going to the circus and expecting monkeys to perform, and they're not. When you go to I will say, an abandoned location, even though it's not abandoned, to a unknown location, I have a few. Like you said, I've produced more evidence from these locations than I have a paid location. Let's be honest, who's going to want a camera stuck in their face? Who's going to want people keep calling them out every 5 minutes? If the other side, if there is stuff on the other side of life, they're going to be mega pissed with us over all this, because all we keep doing is calling them out. I said to the last lot of guests I've had, if we do paranormal this way on the dead, I'd be interested to go onto the other side and find out whether the dead investigate us.
Well,
I really would.
Probably. Yeah.
I really would be interested, because you can't keep bugging these people, and eventually they're just going to give up. Like you said, Scott, you go down a lane that most people don't even know about. Of course you're going to get something there. Why are you going to get something there? Because it's not over-farmed. I call it over-farmed. Obviously, when you get people going there constantly. It's over-farmed. These places aren't. This is the real history. What people don't really get is the dead have more stories to tell than the living do. And it's these people that we don't see a lot or investigate a lot. Do we get to find out the real stories? Yes, 30s Drive, massive, overhyped. Gainsborough Old Nick, it's a Victorian police station. Yes, there is activity there, but it's not as much as what it was when I went 5 years ago to what it is now. It's near enough non-existent. You're chasing it. And for me, if I'm having to chase at a location, then I'm not a paranormal investigator.
It's like last year we did the Ivy House.
Yeah.
Near Warrington. The Ivy House, there's numerous teams done it. It's called the Ivy House, the Demon House, and I think it's the Screaming House as well. But there's so many stories coming out of that place. And before we went, I watched quite a few YouTube investigations, and there was, people were saying sounds of bodies getting dragged and footsteps and laughing and all different bits and pieces. So we went, and it was about a 5-hour drive for us. And we did it with Charlie and Rocks and Roslyn as well. And the only thing we got was, it sounded like a little girl. We blocked off cameras down the stairs, and it sounded like a little girl laughing. And then something, I can never remember this. I always get a bit wrong. The camera moves around the room.
Yeah.
But our lights are attached to the top of the camera. The camera never moved, but the light did. Whereas we're not saying it's normal. We just couldn't explain how that light could go around the room without the camera, because the camera was still running. We couldn't explain how that light could go around the room, but the camera stayed still. And we heard a little girl giggling, and the sound of wooden heels, footsteps on the floor. And that was it. That's all we got all night. And then you're talking about, it sounds a lot. It's no, that lasted seconds, but it was still a good night. It was the experience of doing it. But we get and it'd been hyped and hyped and hyped up, on YouTube, etc. But diddly, apart from that. No, that is a result for us, because something made that light move. somebody made that noise, somebody made that giggle, you know, so it was a kind of result in a way, but no the results we were expecting.
See, I'm at a point now myself where I'm no longer going to start investigating any paid events. Obviously, there is a couple like Bromway Golf in Wales. There's that's the asylum. There's Hyroids Hospital, which I want to do, and probably a couple of others. But for me, paid events now are becoming just a moneymaker. It's all about money and greed in our field now with paid events. I mean, I can give you an example. I paid £350 for 30 people to go to a location 2 years ago. This year alone, it's now up to £700. Right? Where can I get into people and go, I'm charging you 50 quid a ticket? Yet they're still buying from bigger paranormal events companies for £100 ticket. I can't do that. That's not me. So this year, next year, hopefully I like my operation this year, but next year I want to concentrate on unknown locations. Like you, Scott, where you've done the Wallace Trail and this Ludenkirk. You know, I want to start doing things like that. Obviously, you know, with my I've said that wrong because Greg's laughing. Yeah, I want to start doing military stuff. I.e., obviously, I got the 3 camps. You know, that's where my history lies. But I just refuse to do it now. It's becoming a joke. There's an event I wanted to do that no one's ever done down here. It's £3,000, or it was, to do it. That's now up to £5,000. 60 people for £5,000 to go to a castle.
Well, in fact, the only paid event we've investigated was the one with you, and we get nothing. We've always been quite lucky. Evidence-wise, ever dead. Results-wise, you know, there are there's nights in the places we've got diddly, but on the whole, we're going all right that way, and it's always at local locations, places people don't know. And I think, I mean, it's really basic and simple to me. I might be wrong, but I think you get more activity there simply because the spirit, whoever spirits are there, are simply saying, somebody's came to see us. Just came to say hello. So
acknowledge them.
We never get visitors. I know that might sound nuts, but we never get visitors. So I'm going to say hello. It might be plain and simple as that.
But it's true when you think about it, because all those that get over visited won't come out.
You know, so you might get some lady that's still wandering there for whatever reason, and you know, a couple of people walk in the gate. Well, there's some, you know, it's like, you know, if you spoke to somebody for ages, somebody says hello to you, you guys say hello back. The spirit's just the same. You know, I mean, I don't, they might not have any concept of time, maybe they have, maybe who knows, but if somebody came and say hello to me, I'm going to say hello back. You know, it might just be that simple. But I always, at the end of the day, we can investigate as much as we want and use as many gadgets as we want. At the end of the day, it's down to spirit. You can have a spirit sitting in a park bench next to you. But if they don't want to talk to you, then you're not going to get anything.
Well, gentlemen, I hate to cut this short, but I need to get going.
Yeah, I'm going to end it now anyway.
I was going to say, I need to get going. So.
I was just thinking, I was looking, I was going, Jesus, an hour and a half. I've got to stop doing these.
No, I still have the rest of my day to do. All you guys are all at the end of your day. I still got a whole...
Middle of the day for Jennifer. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, is that right? 3:30? No. What? I always get it wrong. Always.
West Coast, 8 hours. Come on.
It's
Yeah.
she's halfway through her day.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
No, it's 1:30.
Definition.
I haven't had lunch.
And I'm looking to go to bed in bed.
And I still have a lot to do. I have some blogs I need to write. I got all sorts of stuff I haven't done.
Anyway, thank you guys for coming on. Obviously, I want to bring you back on later in the year, catch up, see where you've all got to. Obviously, I've got Laura on next month. Yes, I've got Laura on her own next month. That'll be interesting.
She's interested.
well, thank you for having us.
No worries, mate. It's a pleasure because it's usually you having me.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I'd like to catch up in the second half of the year with you guys, see what you're getting up to. Obviously, Scott, I know you've got a lot of projects going on. Hopefully, I'll be able to get Hobnob on, if possible. If we can set up a proper time to get all three of you on.
The best time to get our Australian side on is, now let me think, they're 9 hours ahead of us. So it'd be about 10 o'clock at night, maybe.
Yeah, I've got a few coming up at 10 and 12.
Maybe 11, which would be 3 o'clock for Jennifer.
How about this? It's one of those things. If I can find out ahead of time when things are going to be, I can make it happen. That's just me. I've done 1:00 a.m. shows. Trust me, I can make things happen.
So I would say 11 p.m. our time is the best time. I just said on 3 p.m. for Jennifer and 8 p.m. for the Australian side.
Yeah.
Aye, that's right. I think that's right.
You sure?
Aye.
No, it's not sure. Anyway,
It's been a pleasure.
God.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
We look forward to talking to you later on in the year.
Thank you for having us. Say good night.
It's been good. Yeah.
Cheers, everybody.
See you later, guys.
Bye. Bye.